everybody, Cobweb Rose, and as you can probably tell, I am back at home again, and I need to clean everything that has been on trail with me because a lot of it smells extremely sweaty and disgusting and or has, you know, layers and layers of dirt and sweat on it. So I figured at the same time I can do my unpacking the pack video. So buckle in, it's gonna be a long one. I'm just showing you what I ended the trail with, and then the pile of things that got sent home at some point or swapped out, why, and if I would hike with them again. So, as you guys know, I hiked with the Gossamer Gear Mariposa 60-liter backpack. I really love this pack. Unfortunately, mid-trail, the shoulder straps and the carry strap, aka this line here, the seams started splitting. So Gossamer Gear sent me a replacement backpack, and that's what I've been using since then. This backpack comes with a sit pad, actually in the back of the pack. It helps it breathe, and honestly, this was an extremely comfortable sit pad. Even the one that I sent back to Gossamer Gear actually had not gotten compressed very much. So it worked out really well, and I definitely recommend it. And it was in a really convenient spot for me to be able to take in and out whenever I needed it. So definitely love that feature of the pack. I also got the Gossamer Gear size large phone pocket, which I did in fact use to put my phone in. I'm filming on it right now, so that's why it's not here. I also kept my headphones in here, and I kept my motivational pins on this pack as well. So the Billion Star Hotel pin and the Let's Taco About Snacks taco pin that I got in Franklin, and then the upside down turtle pin that I unfortunately lost somewhere in the mid-Atlantic states and wasn't able to get a replacement for it. I also kept on a little carabiner here my sweat/snot rag. This thing was so helpful on the trip. It's just an REI like quick drying micro towel. Loved having that there. I had the little thing of hand sanitizer that I had carabinered to the outside of the pack as well, and this came in super handy. I either just swapped out the hand sanitizer during the trip or would just refill it from a bigger bottle. And then zipped on the inside, I carried my Poseidon Dark Energy 10,200 milliamp charging block. This thing was virtually indestructible and held charge extremely well. Gave me like 3 full charges on my phone and usually a charge or 2 on something else. I carry my just my charging cable for my phone in there as well. It was a quick charging cable, but I think it's about time for that to retire because it has a lot of wear on the end of the cable, and my phone started getting hot when I was charging it by the end of the trip. So on the hip belt, which I have the size small hip belt for this pack, I carried my this is the Gold Bond Body Glide. I started out with the Body Glide for her. That was a great Body Glide, and I tried the Squirrel's Nut Butter, didn't like how it smelled or how it felt. Honestly, the Gold Bond was my favorite, but this helped so much. I never had issues with chafing, and if I started developing an issue with chafing, I would just throw some of this on. I was literally religious about like body gliding my whole like underwear line, my bra line, like my back where my pack would rub, like my thighs where your thighs rub together when you're walking. Like this stuff saved me for sure. I also have my little first aid kit in here. So this has Band-Aids, tip key, which I didn't end up needing, some alcohol swabs. I keep Excedrin in here, which unfortunately I needed a lot on the trip, Imodium, some ginger pills for nausea, and then my little repair kit, which I had pared down by the end of it, but that's just got little nail clippers in it, and then a repair kit for things like my sleeping bag or the Gear Aid tape for my tent. I also always carried these Catadine Micro Pure tablets just in case I ran into water that I didn't just want to filter through the Sawyer and then drink after that. Thankfully, never had to use it. I also carried a tiny tube of super glue the whole trail because it's like the poor man's Dermabond. Actually, never had to use that either. And then my sewing kit. In this tiny little pill bag, this got the most use of anything I brought with me. I literally had 1 needle in there and a bunch of thread. I had to sew so many things in my kit that I ended up having to pick up more thread like midway through the trip. I also kept a safety pin in there and just some of the extra hook and eye kits for my shoes, which I ended up using. So it turned into a pretty good repair kit. On the other side of the hip belt in the useless mesh half pocket, I just kept my lidocaine gel. This is just icy hot lidocaine gel. I ended up using it a lot for both my knees and for my feet by the end of it when I started doing a little bit more battle with plantar fasciitis. You guys also remember I added this Cotopaxi. This is actually like a pack organizer that I made into a snack pocket for the side. It had a lot of space in there. I fit a lot of snacks. I also ended up keeping my blue O-ring Sawyer squeeze adapter in there. This is what you use if you don't want to have to hold your Sawyer squeeze on your CNOC bag when you're trying to filter between the CNOC bag and water bottles. This lets you just do it to gravity because it's hands-free. So I don't recommend that. It's like $5. Also, my GoPro with the media mod and the backpack clip. I did use this the entire trip for a lot of POV footage. I did start noticing that by the end of the trip, it was having issues with Bluetooth, I think, connecting the footage to my phone. So I don't know if this is like a user error, or I think honestly I probably started getting a little bit of water damage in this by the end of the trip. The GoPro for the most part is waterproof, but we had a ton of rain this year on the AT, and I never put this in my pack or covered it up. Like, it was just getting rained on the whole time. So I'll probably have to figure out a way to like clean out the lens and give my GoPro a little TLC now that I'm back home again. Also, on the outside of my backpack, I carried my Garmin InReach Mini 2. This does require a monthly subscription plan. You can see it's off right now. I didn't turn it off for literally 6 months, but I'll be canceling my year subscription next month because I'm not planning on doing any hiking trips immediately after this, just since I only just got home from spending 6 months in the woods. But I promise you guys more hiking trips to come. Now, you guys will notice my smart water bottles here in the side pouch of my bag. I always had one clean bottle with a sport cap on it and a sticker. This was the most apt sticker I found: smile even when it rains. This is actually still water from the top of Mount Katahdin, Thru Spring, so definitely gonna be chugging that at some point. And then I always kept one dirty water bottle with a different sticker on the outside. This was the pizza space sticker. And then my Sawyer squeeze, which I ended up adding a sport cap to the top of that by the end of the trip, and I could just literally drink straight out of this water bottle through my filter, or I could filter it into my clean water bottle. This setup worked really well, and then I never had to worry about losing my O-ring for the most part in my Sawyer squeeze. That being said, always carry a spare O-ring because somehow I managed to lose 2 of them on this hike, and this is the 3rd incarnation. I kept my rain jacket in this pocket here. This is an anti-gravity gear rain jacket. It's super lightweight, but honestly, it soaked through so quickly when it rained because of how lightweight it is, that really the only thing it was good for is being a lightweight jacket and a bit of a windbreak when I needed it, but it definitely didn't do a lot of repelling of rain. So I can't say that I would recommend it. I'm gonna give it a go in the washer with some like tech wash to see if I can restore the water resistance to the fabric, but if not, it may just end up getting trashed and me getting a new rain jacket for the next trip. Also in this pocket, Ben's 100% DEET. I initially started with picaridin because it's much easier on your gear over time, but good gracious, by the time the summer hit, I swear the mosquitoes in New England have jaws, so 100% DEET it was all day, every day, repeatedly, so we did not get eaten alive. Keep my 2-liter CNOC bag in here. I did end up having to replace the cap on it, but fortunately a lot of outfitters will actually sell that cap. This was fantastic for longer water carries, as well as if I was feeling too lazy to squeeze my dirty water bottle into my clean water bottle, I could just unscrew my Sawyer, put it on the end of this, throw my blue O-ring on, and filter into my clean water bottle. So this was fantastic. I carried it starting in the summertime and then just never sent it home again. And it doesn't really weigh a lot, so I definitely recommend carrying one of these if you can. That's everything in that pocket. Of course, on the very outside of my pack, I always had my AT Thru hiker hang tag. I was $12.98 when I left Amicalola, $6.34 when I got to Harper's Ferry, and then $7.74 when I summited Katahdin. I also have this lightweight trowel that I got from Gossamer Gear. I don't remember who makes it because it's not Gossamer Gear, but this thing worked out great. Honestly, it served my needs. It was super light, and it just lived right here on the outside of my backpack. I also had a pair of Crocs that I just clipped onto the outside of my backpack. These are like the world's best camp shoes because they have the backs on them and the closed toe. I never felt bad about taking off my sneakers to ford a river because I knew these were going to stay on my feet, and it was just a great way to get out of my shoes at the end of the day. And plus, you can have practically no tread on them and you're not going to slip and slide around camp for the most part. Now you guys will probably notice I did jerry-rig block laces to my backpack to help keep my water bottles in and also to help keep things from falling out of this pocket. I never actually needed it to keep things from falling out of the pocket, but it worked great as a place to hang things on the outside of my backpack to dry when it was wet for days on end. Now in the outside of my backpack, I always kept my dry bag with my AWOL guide in it, as well as my journal for the trip. I did keep a physical journal the entire time, and I carried a space pen with it, and that worked out really, really well. I also carried postage stamps in here, and I've been sending postcards to my nieces and nephew all throughout the trail, just so that they would have some fun memories with cool pictures from Auntie M's trip on the AT. I have this, I think it's 1 liter Nalgene bottle. It's collapsible. It has a wide mouth on the top. At the beginning of the trip, this was in fact labeled the not water bottle because it was the pee bottle for inside my tent at night. It meant that I never had to go get soaked in the middle of the night if it was raining and I had to pee, or if we were around a lot of other campers and didn't have any cover. I didn't have to walk half a mile to go to the bathroom. I could just do it in my tent and then dump it out in the morning. This thing was amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend. Just make sure that every single town stop you rinse it out with soap and water. And if you can, rinse it out with water in the morning as well from your clean water bottle, just so that it decreases the smell. But this thing was amazing and definitely recommend with absolutely no shame. Also had my bag of toilet paper where it was easily accessible, and then my Sea to Summit Wilderness Wash sheets. These are just little sheets of soap. And being a nurse, I always wanted to wash my hands after I used a privy, so I would use the soap and just water from my clean water bottle to wash my hands after I went to the bathroom. Moving on around the outside of the backpack, I have my Nalgene bottle. This is a 16-ounce Nalgene bottle. This was used for drink mixes, and then also in the winter time when it was cold and I was colder, I could boil a Nalgene bottle of hot water and sleep with that, and that was a great way to help me stay warm in the cold weather on the trail. Also in this side pouch here is my tent, and normally would be my polycro. The polycro is basically just a giant piece of plastic I used as a tent footprint, and I got it from Gossamer Gear. That was their recommended footprint for the tent that I used from Gossamer Gear, the 2, and it ended up being really ratty by the end of the trail, so I threw it away and the AT hostel in Maine at the end of the trip. And then my Gossamer Gear, the 2, which I rehomed to a Sea to Summit dry bag to keep it dry on days that it was actually dry at the beginning of the day, if it rained at the end of the day. I don't know if I'm going to keep this tent or not. I think it's probably going to end up in the trash bin just because it smells like an aquarium. It didn't hold up well during the trip. I have a ton of tears in the floor, and the Gear A tape only sticks as long as the tent is dry. But otherwise it was super easy to set up. I hacked the bathtub floor with some extra cordage so that I didn't have to carry extra stakes and could pull my bathtub floor out, so that worked really well. And it was a very spacious tent, but that's about all the praise that I can give it. Also, always kept my tent stakes literally clipped into my tent bag so I never lost them. I carried 4 regular size MSR groundhog stakes, 2 MSR groundhog minis, which in the future, if I did keep a tent the same design as the 2, I would definitely just bite the bullet on the extra ounce and take the full-sized MSR groundhog stake. That's this one, as opposed to the mini, which is this one. And then I kept 2 of the stakes that came with my tent to use to stake out the guy lines on the side. So that's a total of 8 stakes. Okay, that should be everything on the outside of the backpack. So let's dive into the inside. Oh, I also kept a little glow-in-the-dark keychain that had a thermometer on it, and it has a compass, but I only ever used it for the thermometer. Like right now it's oh shoot, it's 95 degrees. I think I've left this in direct sunlight for too long because I don't think it's 95 degrees out here right now. So at the top of my pack, you guys probably remember seeing this on the outside of my pack for a lot of the trip. The guys affectionately called my dry bag the blueberry. I keep my Big Agnes short sleep pad. This is the Divide insulated pad. It is an R value of 4. This was extremely comfortable, very durable, and super easy to inflate. It came with an inflation bag. You do not have to use any of your own breath to inflate the sleeping pad. All you had to do was, this bag is made of stiff enough material that you just open it up, get some air inside of it, and then roll it down, and it would inflate your sleeping pad. So was very happy with this purchase after my original pad popped near Hot Springs, North Carolina. And I could set up over routes on rootier campsites and didn't feel them in my sleep. So this was great. I also have the 1/8 inch Gossamer Gear foam pad. This served a dual purpose. It helped keep my sleeping bag or my sleeping pad from sliding around on the floor of my tent. And it also protected the pad from anything that I may have missed when I was clearing out my sites, so that I did not pop a second pad. Now underneath that, I kept my custom printed Hilltop Packs dry bag. This is a Dyneema bag. It's actually a bear bag. It has a sit flat bottom on it and a spoon holder on the inside. I never ended up using it as a bear bag because I carried a bear can for the majority of the trip. I also am just one of those people that's inherently distrustful of anything that says that it's waterproof. So I did keep a trash bag inside of it the entire trip and never had any issues with moisture for anything that was in this bag. So 10 out of 10 recommend this Hilltop Packs bags, and it's fun to have your stuff custom printed anyway. Top of the pack, I kept my Cotopaxi puffy. This is the like 2/3 zip puffy that had 2 ginormous Kanga pockets. One is a pass-through and the other one was a zipper with an equally large pocket on the inside. This is a 100% down puffy. So the only time I ever ran into issues with this was one day I was wearing it on top of Fire Tower, on top of Stratton. It started pouring rain, my puffy got wet, and that night I had absolutely 0 insulated properties in it because it was wet. So that's the only thing you have to watch out for with down material of any kind, sleeping bags, puffies, whatever. But I absolutely love this puffy. I carried this from the day I set foot on Springer literally until the day I touched the sign at Katahdin. So 10 out of 10 recommend the puffy situation. This is my Toaks titanium cook set. So this is just the bag that it came in. And then I have a 550 ml cook pot. You'll notice my lovely Outdoor 76 buff that I got for free for being a through hiker when I went through Franklin, North Carolina. I kept my MSR Pocket Rocket stove wrapped up inside of that, and then I kept my fuel can wrapped inside of the bandana, like the buff as well. I always carried the smaller fuel cans, never needed the larger ones, and then the 550 with the lid worked perfectly for all of my cooking needs. I never had to go higher than the 550 for this. I always carried a pack of contacts and had my husband just send me new contacts in bags whenever I needed them. So if you wear contacts or glasses, make sure you remember to pack them for your trip. I had a super cheap Amazon glasses case. My glasses aren't in it right now, but that's what I carried them in for the whole trip. If I had to do that again, I would definitely go with like a lightweight plastic case instead, just because I couldn't ever close that case. It just never worked. I have 3 pack towels. You did hear me. I ended up carrying 3 by the end of it. I had 2 smaller ones. These are super quick dry, very absorbent towels. I ended up using them a lot to clean my feet off after river fordings, to clean my tent when there was condensation in it, and a few times to clean my body after we had come off of swimming in a pond or something like that. This one here I received from King Tut and Sips at their Trail Magic at Tenacity Gap in Georgia a few days in, and I carried it literally all the way to Mount Katahdin. So thank you to King Tut and Sips for this. They were used and loved. Inside my bag, I also have a second custom printed bag from Hilltop Packs. This one has a picture of my dog on it, and it's a bag with a divider inside it. I used it as my electronics bag. What I ended up having in here by the end of the trip was a spare camera lens cover for my phone, because I shattered 3 of them on the trip, and that protected my camera lens for you guys, but it meant I went through a few more lens protectors. I always had a spare GoPro battery in there just in case. And then on the other side of the bag, I kept all of my charging cables. I have the charging cable for my headlamp, the charging cable for my GoPro, and then the charging cable for my charging brick in here, as well as a couple of wall charger adapters. If I had to do this part over again, I would definitely get something where the prongs fold into the block instead of sticking up, because I had to keep them in this little box the whole time. They're just cheap Amazon chargers, but it meant that I could plug into a lot of different outlets when we were into town. I had this little Burt's Bees tin that I repurposed to hold my sleep medication. I just used something called Midnight. It's just a natural sleep medication. Worked really well for me. Ended up needing it more towards the end of the trip when my circadian rhythm started getting more off as the seasons changed. I carried a bag of Q-tips. That's personal preference. Also, I have a disposable razor in here. At the beginning of the trip, I thought about bringing a disposable razor or like a reusable travel razor, and decided against it. Ended up just getting these from town or hiker boxes because it was my personal preference to have shaved legs and pits on trail. A lot of women don't do that, but do what makes you feel good, because if this makes you feel more human, it's worth the small amount of weight for carrying it. I also carried a small hairbrush. As you can tell, I have quite the mane, so the hairbrush helped when I was in town and finally got to wash said mane. I did end up switching from period panties to just regular pads to handle my period on trail. This worked a lot better. It was a lot easier to find these in hiker boxes and at the store, so I always had some of these on me. I also did carry my Flex menstrual cup the entire way to the end of the trail. This, honestly, I just boiled in my cook pot when it was time to clean it, and I never had issues with infections with this. It worked really well, so I definitely recommend that for period management for any of you ladies who are going out on trail. I always kept a little bag of spare items for my Sawyer squeeze. I always kept a dirty cap for my water bottle, my dirty water bottle, in case I needed to sleep with it to keep it from freezing. And then I always kept a couple of extra O-rings because, like I said, a couple of mine mysteriously disappeared and I never got them back. If you ever lose an O-ring, guys, look through the hiker boxes, because people always throw away the Sawyer squeeze packs after taking the filter out of them. And if you look in the little blue adapter for people who want to attach their Sawyer squeeze to a straw, there will always be one of those O-rings in there, and those are always left behind in hiker boxes because no one really uses that part. So rate those boxes, look in those Sawyer squeeze kits that people leave behind, and you should be able to find yourself a spare O-ring if anything happens to yours. I also carried a spare ex officio Give and Go sports bra. This is what I wore every single day on trail. I had 2 of them. And they were incredible. I would literally wear these for days on end through the summertime, sweating in them, wearing them as my shirt, as under my shirt. Like, I would sleep in them. I never had any issues with rashes. They dried out really fast, and they actually, this was the one item in my kit that would never retain smell, no matter how much I had sweated in it, swam in it, whatever. So 10 out of 10 recommend ex officio for your camping needs. Also, I carried a spare pair of the ex officio Give and Go underwear, which I also wore. I ended up getting holes in the spare pair that I had, so I threw it away when I got back. But I ended up having to downsize these a couple of different times. So I started in a medium, this is an extra small, and I went to a small and then an extra small on trail. But these are fantastic. The underwear does not smell, you don't feel disgusting wearing it for multiple days in a row, and you can stick pads to the material if you need that for period management. So definitely recommend those. I also always kept a spare full set of socks in there, and I say that to mean my merino wool and gingy socks, which I would wear on a day-to-day basis. Always kept a spare pair of those in there and would switch them out usually when we were in town. And then a spare pair of Darn Tough socks, which I also wore in daily life on trail. 10 out of 10 recommend Darn Tough. I ended up wearing holes in 2 pairs of my Darn Tough socks, and I was able to exchange them through the mail under warranty and get a brand new pair of socks. I know Kind of Outdoorsy in Duncannon, Pennsylvania, and then the Pinkham Notch Visitor Center in New Hampshire are on trail sock exchangers for Darn Tough. So if you can hold out till you get to one of those 2 places, literally all you have to do is show them the hole in your socks, have them watch you throw them away, and then you go pick out a new pair of socks from their stock, and you can walk out of the store with your new pair that day instead of having to wait on the post office. 10 out of 10 recommend Darn Tough. They are incredible socks, and they're super, super comfortable. So that's everything that was riding in this bag. Next bag down in the stack was my food bag. So you guys will remember I carried a bear can named Stickers with me, and you can see how much more decorated Stickers has gotten since I started the trail. I love Stickers, BV475, and it fit perfectly sideways in my backpack. I was going to carry this the entire way to Katahdin, even though by the time you get to Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, you really don't have issues with bears at all. But in New Hampshire, when I got my winter gear back, it was too heavy in my backpack for the amount of body weight I had lost. So I ended up sending Stickers home. It was very sad for me because I really do love this bear can, and I got a food bag instead. I would send it home for the weight purposes any other time, but I also don't regret hiking with Stickers, and I would do it again if I had the choice. That being said, my bear bag, which I never hung for myself by the time we got to the Northeast, always contained my spork. This is a long-handled spork. It's some random Amazon brand. It worked out fantastic the entire trip. I always kept it in a bag to kind of keep it a little bit clean. You know how things go on trail. And then I always kept my bag of smellables in here if I had the space. So I carried flossing picks in there because I just don't do regular dental floss. I always had baby wipes. This was such a lifesaver for me when I was going through the days when it was so humid and I just felt like a disgusting human at the end of the day. It's such a morale boost to just literally wipe down with baby wipes like you've had a bath and you feel more human. It also helped a lot in the Northeast when we were going through mud pit after mud pit after mud pit, and so day after day, literally from my toes to my knees, I would be covered in mud. These were fantastic just to wipe that mud off again so it wasn't getting all over my gear and my tent, and I could feel more human. I have eczema, so I always carried some Vaseline for my lips, and also Vermont-made Bag Balm, which is like a petroleum-based cream. This was good for absolutely everything. 10 out of 10 recommend. And then, of course, travel-size toothpaste and travel-size toothbrush. Now, at the very bottom of my backpack, I always had a double bag liner. So this is just a clear plastic bag liner from Gossamer here. And these held up pretty well, especially with the double liner in my backpack. I kept my merino wool, smart wool base layer pants in here. These are my wintertime pants. That was my camp clothes, my sleep clothes, so I was always warm and dry when I got into camp. In the summertime, I was using the REI brand lighter weight base layer tights, and these worked out really well in the summertime because they were a little bit lighter, but they also kind of protected my legs some from the mosquitoes, although I still got bites through there. I also kept my REI merino wool quarter zip shirt in there. This is what I wore as my base layer in the winter time, and at the end of the trail when it started to get cooler at night. During the summertime, I just had this Eastern Mountain Sports quarter zip long sleeve. This was a lot more breathable, so it was a lot easier to wear in the summertime when it was hotter outside. Also have my Sea to Summit inflatable pillow. This was pretty comfortable for most of the trip, and super easy to inflate and deflate, and honestly smells surprisingly okay after 6 months of not being able to wash it. And then at the very bottom of my pack, I have my Mountain Hardwear 0 degree Bishop Pass women's mummy bag, size regular length, although I wish they had a short. This is my winter sleeping bag. I love this thing to death. It was fantastic. Would definitely recommend, but it is big and it is bulky and it is heavy. In the summertime, I was using the REI Magma Trail Quilt 30 degree, which is a 30 degree, right? Yeah, 30 degree short quilt. And this thing was incredible. The only complaint I had with it was because it's a quilt and the back is open, I got super sweaty and hot laying directly on my banana boat. So I ended up getting a Sea to Summit Cool Max sheet. This is actually a sheet for your sleeping pad. And this saved me in the summertime because it was so comfortable. It kept me cool and I wasn't sweating because I wasn't laying directly on plastic. 10 out of 10 recommend this, but it's almost impossible to find. I actually had to order it online from a very obscure outfitter and have it sent to trail. A couple of things that are not, this is everything that's in my backpack. Oh, top pouch, bag of Ziploc bags, gallon size, quart size, and sandwich size, useful for absolutely everything from cooking your ramen to repackaging your groceries to, oh shoot, I need a bag because I don't want to put my dirty, nasty socks inside my backpack anywhere. Bag. 10 out of 10 recommend carrying these. Now that's everything that was in my backpack when I summited Katahdin. Well, I mean, when I got to Maine, I should say, because I slack packed up Katahdin. Now, things that I sent home that were in my backpack for most of the trip and I would definitely carry again. First thing, these Sundick outdoor down booties. I literally carried these until Shaw's Hiker Hostel, which was right before the 100-mile wilderness, and then I sent them home because I hadn't been wearing them. But if your feet get cold when you sleep, get down booties. They weigh nothing, they take up no space whatsoever, and you will be so happy when your tootsies are warm at night and you're not even wearing your spare pair of socks. I got this Outdoor Research sun shirt when I was in Damascus, Virginia. I had just sent all of my winter gear home. We were getting ready to go into the Grayson Highlands. I didn't have anything long sleeve just to cut the wind. I ended up getting this. It was very comfortable. Sent it home when I got my winter gear because I just didn't need it anymore, but I would carry this again for sure. I also had this Nike swim shirt with just built-in bra pads, and I picked up this pair of, I don't even know, what is this? Oh, the North Face shorts when I was at the Knock in North Carolina. I used these as my town clothes. In the mid-Atlantic states especially, there really just weren't a lot of hostels that we ended up staying at, so if I needed to do all of my laundry in town, I would put town clothes on. I have mixed feelings about them because I did send them home after the summertime because I just wasn't wearing them. So if you guys really want to make sure you can wash everything when you're not at a hostel or you have loaner clothes, definitely bring the town clothes, but honestly I don't think I would bring them again because the amount of time I wore them versus the amount of time I didn't was too much, so, or too little I should say. So I don't think I would take those again. I had these serious weatherproof, windproof gloves that I carried in the winter time and then through the whites. These gloves definitely were not waterproof by any stretch of the imagination, but they were warm enough for my needs. And they dried out fairly fast when they were given a chance to dry. I definitely recommend carrying some kind of gloves during the winter time if you start in March like I did. And then also for when you're going through the whites, and then maybe even when you're summiting Katahdin, because that was the only thing I wish I had when I was summiting was a pair of gloves because it was so windy that day. But we only had to hike a few hours in the wind, so it didn't make a difference in the end. I also had a pair of anti-gravity gear rain pants. These are not bad rain pants, but there's no ventilation. So unless it's really cold, you're going to get toasty in these. I did need these in the winter time when we were hiking in Georgia and North Carolina, and I needed these when we were going over Mount Washington in the whites. Could have also probably, well, no, I didn't need them on Katahdin, but I definitely did not regret having these in my initial winter gear setup, and then through the whites, but I sent them home after the whites because I just didn't need them anymore. And honestly, what we found was by the end of the trip, if it rains, just get wet, because you're going to either get wet with sweat or you're going to get wet with rain, and rain smells way better than sweat in the end. Some people don't even bring rain gear, or they get rid of it by the end of the trail. A lot of people were rocking the rain poncho, where you could cover your backpack as well. MC chose to use a pack cover the entire trip. I did not, because my backpack dries fairly quickly and everything inside of it is in a waterproof stuff sack or a double bag liner, so I didn't have to worry about water getting inside my pack. Now, I did, for most of the trip, carry my Gossamer Gear umbrella. I loved having an umbrella on trail. The only reason it got sent home in New Hampshire was again for the weight savings, and because by that time we were literally going straight up one side of the mountain and straight down another, and that's just not a conducive environment for an umbrella. I did miss it a little bit when we had 4 days of rain in the 100-mile wilderness, but I don't regret carrying it as far as I did, and would definitely do it again. The only thing is, I would probably take like a Six Moon Designs umbrella or some other brand, just because the Gossamer Gear one, the silver coating that actually protects the umbrella from getting holes in it, started wearing off within a month of me having it on trail, and so I ended up with probably 10 holes in my umbrella, which makes it less than useful, but overall it functioned well. And I got the umbrella holder strap that goes with the backpack from Gossamer Gear, and even if you don't end up buying their umbrella, I would recommend getting their umbrella their umbrella strap, hands-free umbrella strap for your backpack, because that let me hike with my hands on my trekking poles instead of a hand on my trekking pole and a hand on my umbrella. So this pink jacket is a black diamond synthetic puffy. I ended up changing out my Polartec fleece mid-layer from Georgia for this when I got my cold weather gear back for the whites. The synthetic down does not lose its warmth when it gets wet, so that really helped me in the whites when we were soaked for a few days, and I definitely needed the warmth. I sent it home after the whites just because I didn't need it. Maine was plenty warm without it. And at that point I was like, I'll just hike in my down puffy if we get to Katahdin and it's really cold, and that's exactly what I did. But that was literally our last day hiking on trail. So I would carry this again for the winter time as opposed to the fleece. The only down part about this is that it's not as warm as a full down puffy, and it's not as water repellent as a fleece. So just something to think about. I kept my gloves, my hand warmers, and my mid-layer in a waterproof stuff sack on the outside of my backpack for ease of access. When I had all of that stuff, once I sent it home, I sent this bag home with it because I just didn't need it, but I would do it that way again. I also have this Essie knife that I got from Amazon. You guys will recognize this as my neck knife that I started out the trip with. By the time the summertime hit and I was hiking without my shirt a lot, it would just bounce around on my chest, so I stopped wearing it and put it in my fanny pack, and it just kind of never got used after that. So if you feel the need to bring protection for yourself, I do still recommend a neck knife. Maybe not one this heavy, because our friend Struggle Bus had a very lightweight neck knife and that worked a lot better than this one did, but I just ended up sending it home before the end of the trip because I personally didn't use it and didn't want the weight. I also had a small bit of cordage that I used as a clothesline for a lot of the trip. With it being so wet on the AT, if you had the opportunity to string up a clothesline to dry your stuff out, it was super helpful to do so. If you don't have a bear bag though, it's not really practical to bring one of these with you. Struggle Bus and MC always packed bear bags, so they always had their just bear hang rope with them, and we would use that as a clothesline. I ended up sending Tiger Balm home in New Hampshire to save weight. This is a pain relief cream. You can get it pretty much any store. It was super helpful to me, especially through Virginia when my knees were giving out and I was in a lot of pain and had a lot of plantar fascia pain. But I just didn't end up needing it by the end of the trip, and I was just using the lidocaine gel instead. But I would pack it again. I definitely recommend using it. It's a very natural way to help treat your pain on trail. KT tape was another one of those things I ended up sending home near the end of the trail just to save weight. KT tape works extremely well in the winter time for managing your injuries on trail, especially if you are taping correctly, which there are lots of videos online how to do your KT tape correctly. Unfortunately, during the summertime, what I found was with the extremely high humidity and the amount of rain we got this year, my KT tape, even the extreme and the pro versions, would not stick to my skin for more than a day at a time. So it became just a waste of money to even have this with me, but I would carry it again for wintertime injuries. Just be aware that that's not something you're going to be able to use unless you are okay with throwing money out the window during the summertime, because it just won't stick because of the humidity. Now, the last things that we're gonna go through are actually the things that I was wearing on trail, because obviously I was not wearing this lovely cotton shirt I got from Shaw's or these great denim jeans that I had to buy new when I got back because I didn't fit in my jeans when I left. Trekking poles. 10 out of 10 recommend trekking poles of any brand. I love Lecky personally. I've had these for about 5 years. They worked fantastic. I did have to get one section replaced when we were at trail days just because the latch broke, and then the guys re-tipped my poles for me mid-trip, and I think I'm probably gonna have to re-tip them again because New Hampshire kind of destroyed the poles, or the tips on the poles. But these were fantastic poles. The grips were very comfortable, and I used these to also set up my trekking pole tent. MC used the REI brand trekking poles, and he bent multiple sections of them when he fell a few times. So I don't know that I personally could recommend those. I don't know if MC would recommend those either, because my Lecky poles held up a lot better, and Snapshot's Black Diamond poles held up really well. And he was a big fan of having the cork grip. So definitely, be mindful of the poles that you choose. And we don't recommend, I think it's these ones are, I think, aluminum. They're heavier. The carbon fiber ones are likely to snap or bend because they're a lot lighter weight. So just something to consider when you're looking for trekking poles. I ended up wearing Topo brand shoes almost the entire trip. You can see their logo there. I started out in Ultras. The zero drop worked fine until we started climbing real mountains, and then it destroyed my Achilles. So I ended up going to first the Topo Terra Ventures, which were fantastic, but they didn't have enough cushion for me. Ended up switching to the Topo Ultra Venture 3s, which were way too big despite being the same size. Ended up ditching those and going for last year's model of the Ultra Venture 2s, and that is the perfect shoe for me. Great tread, good breathability, wide toe box. And I did end up using just the regular shoe laces by the end of the trip instead of lock laces. It was a lot less hassle overall. I did sew on eyes to the shoes so that I could hook my Dirty Girl gaiters into them, because these have Velcro on the back. So I ended up sewing a hook onto the back of my gaiters so that I could hook them into my shoes on the back. 10 out of 10 recommend the Dirty Girl gaiters. I got so many compliments on my Foxy gaiters on trail. I love these things, and they helped keep so much extraneous mud, rocks, duff out of my shoes, and yeah, I love these. Nothing bad to say about the Dirty Girl gaiters. Also, if you happen to break the seams on anything and you have a sewing kit, it's super easy to just re-sew the seams on these, so you can just repair them on trail. Now, things that I was wearing on the outside, I just have this, like, the guys always called it my telephone cord hairband. This held my hair really well, and I actually surprisingly never lost this. I always carried a spare but never lost it. I just have a Timex watch. This is a really basic watch. I think it's like 40 bucks from Walmart. It held up super well. It just tells the time and doesn't do anything fancy. And then I got this beautiful handmade bracelet from Chica, of Chica and Sunsets in Franklin. I ended up wearing it the entire trip. And she makes really beautiful jewelry pieces, so you guys can check her out. And then I wore this Groove Life ring the entire trip. It does look a little white at the top now because I think the DEET started actually rubbing the ink off of the patterning on the ring, but this ring held up so well. It's like a tank. Absolutely love the Groove Life rings, and they have a warranty that if you somehow manage to break their ring, they will immediately send you a new one. So definitely recommend that. I hiked in my AT buff the entire time. I loved it to death. Ended up stretching it out just a little bit by the end of the trail because I'd had it for a couple of years before I started. Love, love, love this buff pattern, and buff in general. Like any buff you want to bring on trail, it's fantastic. Ended up using this Under Armour synthetic t-shirt that I had at my house before I started. This was the second incarnation of this shirt. Because the thing with synthetics is eventually you will not be able to wash the through hiker stank out of it no matter what you do. I was fortunate that I threw it in the washer with a cup of vinegar when I got back, and it actually doesn't smell like through hiker stank. So this is good. I wore the REI Sahara guide pants for the entirety of the trip. It has an internal belt and actually has like the jogger bottoms on it. And these are in fact pants that zip off into shorts, and I wore them as shorts for the majority of the trip. These are rain resistant pants, and they were very comfortable. They were cool in the summertime and they were warm in the winter time. This is, however, my third pair of pants on trail because I kept shrinking and going down sizes. So I actually kept shrinking out of the pants. So this is the extra small. I thought I had started in a medium, but since I got home, I've only been able to find size small pants. So I may have started in a small and gone to an extra small. I'm not sure, but these were fantastic pants. Definitely recommend those. Now, last but not least, we have my good old faithful Cotopaxi fanny pack. I don't remember the literage on this, but it's a fantastic fanny pack. Definitely recommend Cotopaxi. They make great gear. I have a Kula cloth clipped to the outside. The on-brand Kula cloth, like the one that's actually sold by Kula, are the best pea rags that you are going to find. Some women will just use a regular bandana. Pro tip, if you see a bandana on trail, I don't recommend touching it. Somebody lost it off their pack, but you don't know if that's a pea rag, a sweat rag, a blood rag, or what. But bandanas I don't mess with on trail. But the Kula cloth was a fantastic way to save toilet paper and to have something antibacterial handy to wipe when I went to the bathroom on trail. The only thing is, in the summertime especially, it will start smelling very strongly of ammonia. So it'll start smelling like pee. And when it gets to that point and you can't throw it in the washer and have it come out not smelling like pee, it's time to replace your cloth. So I started with an off-brand Cersei Care cloth from Amazon. Those smelled like pee within like a month, and I had to throw 2 of them away. Ended up getting an on-brand Kula, which lasted me about a month longer than the Cersei Care, so about 2 months. And then this one, I think I'm probably gonna have to dispose of soon as well, but a lot of outfitters sell these on trail. In the front pocket of my fanny pack, I always kept a tube of Listex chapstick that had SPF in it, a tiny Sharpie, which served me very well on trail, and then I also carried a Victorinox Swiss Army knife in a tiny little pill bag to keep it from rusting. I never had issues with rust on this knife. It has tweezers, a toothpick, little scissors, nail file / screwdriver, and a actual knife. This is fantastic, well worth the wait. I also carried Tylenol in a little pill baggie for easy access, ibuprofen in a little pill baggie for easy access, and then I kept my wallet in there. The AT, you need a surprising amount of cash by the time you get to New England, especially because there's a lot of cash dealings that happen there. Places that give you like they charge you like a 3% service fee on your credit card, so it's better to pay in cash. And then Baxter State Park is a cash only park, so if you need to get anything while you're in that park, you have to bring your cash. But also in here, I kept my driver's license, my credit cards, my debit cards, and then my stencil that I made to leave my Cobweb Rose symbol in any of the trail magics that we came across, or in the shelter logs. In the main compartment of my fanny pack, I kept this Sea to Summit bug net. This thing saved my sanity in the summertime because there were so many bugs. Now this will smell absolutely disgusting after you've worn it for a couple of days sweating into it. Pro tip, literally ball this sucker up, throw whatever soap you have available to you, dish soap, hand soap, bar soap when you get to a hotel or a hostel, rub it down really good, rinse it really, really good, hang it up to dry somewhere. Within an hour, it'll be completely dry and it will smell so much better. But this is an essential piece of gear for the AT, trust me. I also carried a pair of cheap sunglasses in here, never ended up breaking them. I don't even know what brand this is, to be honest with you. Mai Tais. by Knockaround. These were great. Loved them. Didn't really need them for parts of the trail. Definitely needed them for others. Honestly, I wouldn't bring any kind of expensive sunglasses on the trail. You'll probably end up breaking them. I also kept a spare piece of polycro. This is what my tent footprint was made out of. I kept this size piece because it perfectly fit my shoes and my backpack inside my tent, so it helped me keep the amount of dirt in my tent down. I definitely would recommend carrying a little doormat for your tent if you happen to bring your stuff inside every night. Always had a quart-sized bag in my fanny pack to keep my phone in when it started raining. I wear contacts, so I always had to bring artificial tears with me. Afterbite, 10 out of 10 recommend having afterbite in the summertime on the AT, because once the mosquitoes are out, you will start itching, and I knew people who got eaten up. This is topical Benadryl. It works fantastic. Definitely get something to treat your bug bites with, and keep it handy. And then last but not least, I had a little bag of miscellaneous items that were commonly used. I had my Rology cork ball. I use this to roll out very sore muscles at the end of every day. I used it consistently till about halfway through the trail, and honestly, by the time I had gotten like my muscles strengthened and my body kind of used to hiking every day, I didn't end up using this as much, but it helped so much at the beginning of the trail and even certain parts of the end of the trail, especially when I started having a lot more issues with having sprained an ankle and having plantar fasciitis in my foot, and it was a good purchase for sure. I also carried my Body Glide Foot Glide in here. I am a big fan of this stuff. I went 2,198.4 plus miles without any blisters on my feet. I did get one blister on the back of my ankle because I had an improperly sized ankle brace, but I never got blisters on my feet, and it's because I paired this with Injinji socks and Darn Tough socks and trail runners. So 10 out of 10 recommend. I was religious about applying this every single morning on trail. I also carried a Nightcore new headlamp. It has a red light on it as well as a turbo mode light on it. It's rechargeable, and I swapped out the head strap for something a little bit lighter. This is literally just a drawstring cord. I pretty much got off a bag that I had before, and this worked fantastic. Definitely recommend it. It's lightweight, it's cheap, and this thing held charge for days. It was amazing. All right, I've now completely unpacked my pack, and you guys know everything that I took with me on the trip. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comments below. Also, my lighterpack link is still linked in the comments or in the description of the video, although it has not been updated since I set foot on trail. And my backpack fully loaded throughout the trip, you typically ranged anywhere between 30 and 36 pounds, depending on how much food and water I had on board for the day. It's not the world's lightest setup, but I was very pleased with it the entire time. So thank you for unpacking the pack with me, and happy trails, guys.